Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today, well, today is Hump Day.
Mike. What day is it, Mike? Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But as I always like to say, the fun is in the trying. And well, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Mike's not here, so he must have begun the weekend already. Well, no. And for Mike has got to get his work on, so unfortunately he's not going to make it back to Location Bravo in order to do the program today. But we're here, you're here, I'm here. We're going to have a good old time. We're going to be taking your comments over on Facebook, over on YouTube, over on Twitter, and over on Rumble. So go ahead. If you got something to say, go ahead and chime in. Let us know what's up. Let us know what you're thinking. Look, already 8 seconds in, Alberto is in the house. Alberto Orozco, thank you so much for tuning in. Why don't you guys follow Alberto's lead? Say what's up, because he's got his nice little big MAGA. He's got his MAGA. He's showing his MAGA flags. He's showing his MAGA pride, and of course he should, because there's tons of good stuff going on today as the president continues to win. For those of you who may not know, the stock market is up today. It's not one of our stories, but I thought I throw in a whole little, winning thing today. Stock market is up about 3,000 points. That's right. It's up about 3,000 points because as we've always said, or as I continue to say, in the long run, the stock market always goes up. Don't understand why people don't get this. Well, the left, they get it. They understand it. But whenever they have an opportunity to badmouth Donald Trump or to badmouth Republicans, they're going to do it. So that's all they're doing. They're just not letting a quote-unquote crisis go to waste. But seeing as how mostly they know nothing about investments, or they don't care anything really about the truth, of course they're going to use that as an opportunity to lie. Anyway, so things are going well. Once again, who knows? And by the way, that probably leads into... There's some other news that probably led to that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So before we get into that news, let's go ahead and give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. They sell rifle and pistol caliber barrels, available at any length for you to purchase, whether you're looking to do a brand new build or rebarrel your current rifle. Folks, check them out today. Chances are, if you bought an AR recently, you already have one of their barrels, so why not get another one? Go to hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net, and check them out today. And then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect Republicans, conservative Republicans, at all levels of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to them as the conscience of the Republican Party. You can check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Check them out today. And then we've got Hog Holsters, the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. All you got to do is go to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. That's helping Americans wear guns. Just go to their website, check it out today, find the holster of your choice. And when you go to checkout, make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word, just like it is right up there. And you're going to get a discount on us. And by the way, let me also remind you, these are all custom-made holsters. So trust me, you want to check them out today. And then finally, if you are a part of a group, if you are, let's say you have a shooting club, let's say you're the buyer for your police department or for your department or for your or maybe for your military unit, you need to check out uscombatgear.com. They have the widest selection of tactical gear available on the market. They have phenomenally competitive pricing, and best of all, they have excellent customer service. All you got to do is go to uscombatgear.com, where you can find all things tactical except the gun. All right. That now brings us forward to our first story. And to be honest, if I had seen the thing about the stock market, that would have likely been my first story today. But this one's an important one. And it's an important one because it just keeps happening. I mean, here we are. We aren't even 100 days into the Trump's second term, and it seems like almost every day, every week at least, for sure, but it seems like almost every day or every other day, we're hearing some story about a Biden program, a Biden lie, a Biden cover-up that is being revealed, right? We've already heard about, first of all, we saw that he, pardoned a bunch of people, including killers of children. We saw that he pardoned the January 6th committee, even though they didn't ask for it, for crimes. We don't know what crimes they got, but they got a blanket pardon. We saw that his family got a blanket pardon. Funny how all of that kind of works. We've seen that he's whisked away money in the EPA, $20 billion to be exact, put it away in some hidden account so that that money could be dispersed to leftist groups, and that money has since been clawed back. And anyway, we've just seen a bunch of stuff that this president has hidden from the American people. And, today is no different as we learn even more about the workings, the inner workings, the lies and whatnot being told by the administration. One of the lies that we're going to be talking about today has to do with COVID and when the first COVID cases were actually came out. And this being reported by the Washington Free Beacon, a Biden administration concealed congressionally mandated report on earliest suspected American COVID cases. 7 Americans may have contracted COVID-19 in Wuhan in October of 2019, several months before the reported start of the pandemic, according to a bombshell military report obtained by the Washington Free Beacon that the Biden administration concealed from the public. The December 2022 report, which the Biden administration was required by law to release to the public over 2 years ago, but didn't, reveals that the first time that 7 U.S. military service members contracted COVID-19-like symptoms during or after their participation in the World Military Games in Wuhan in October 2019. Contradicting the Biden administration's public claims in 2021 that there was no evidence that any American participants contracted the virus at those games. The revelation adds to a mounting body of evidence that the virus was circulated in Wuhan, that the violence was circulating in Wuhan for months before China disclosed it to the world in December of 2019, and further bolsters the growing consensus that it could have leaked into the human population from a Chinese lab. Well, I don't know how much more you need, how much more evidence you need to know that that was likely the cause or where it came from a lab. But this is important because it's important to understand the role that China played in allowing the pandemic to even happen. It could have been something that was limited to China. It could have been something that was just limited to Wuhan. But instead, they lied to the world. And they allowed people to travel to China, and they allowed people from China or from Wuhan to travel all over the world, knowing that they could have been infected with the COVID-19 virus. And to date, so far as we know, China has paid absolutely no price, not only for doing this, not only for the creation of the virus, but for releasing it onto the world. Now, I'm not saying that they leaked it from the lab intentionally, but they knew it was out of the lab. And the fact that they knew it was out of the lab and allowed people to travel to and from Wuhan from all over the world. Allowed people from Wuhan to travel all over the world and spread this virus. One has to ask the question, at what point are they going to pay a price? They clearly were not going to pay that price under the Biden administration because the Biden administration was only, encouraging them. And that is really kind of sad. And by the way, For those of you who right now are saying, well, that happened during the Trump administration. Well, once again, they were lying to Donald Trump. And a lot of this information didn't come out until, let's see, when did the report come out? 2022. So they knew. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Trump knew. I'm not saying he didn't know, but I'm not saying that he knew. But we definitely know that Biden knew. We definitely know that there was a report. And we definitely know that that report was supposed to be made public. And it wasn't. It was a lie by the administration. And it was just one of several lies out there to protect his friends, the Chinese, because, they had cut Hunter a check. Well, let me clarify. They cut Hunter and the big guy a check. I don't know if it was for that. We knew they were in their pocket. Anyway, all that having been said, that wasn't the only thing that the Biden administration did or that they covered up. Also being reported by the Washington Free Beacon, Biden administration quietly waived, quote, Buy America rule on $7 billion solar program, allowing taxpayer funds to benefit Chinese manufacturers. And by the way, this is after they lied to us, after they released the pandemic on us, after they allowed the world, millions of people throughout the world to die of the pandemic, including over a million Americans, this is what happened. Anyway, it says, just days before leaving office, the Biden administration quietly waived congressionally mandated Build America, Buy America rules for its $7 billion flagship solar program, allowing grant recipients to use federal funds to purchase solar panels assembled with foreign-made components. The Environmental Protection Agency, those thieves again, finalized the one-year waiver for the Solar for All program on January 10th, 2025, without issuing an accompanying press release. At the time, the Biden EPA acknowledged that most solar panel components are sourced from China and that the agency goals included, quote, climate action and energy justice would be derailed without the waiver. The waiver, which remains in effect and has largely gone undetected, ultimately enables Chinese manufacturers to reap the benefits of billions of dollars in American taxpayer funding under the Solar for All program. So, in other words, they gave Hunter millions and they get billions in contracts. And they didn't put out a press release as they normally do in cases like this. They didn't tell the public. They just did it. Once again, the Biden administration. And when I say the Biden administration, I'm not just talking about Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't know what was going on. Joe Biden was gone. I mean, he was there physically, but mentally, psychologically, all of that fun stuff, he was gone. He was not there. He was not cognizant. He did not know what time it was. These are the people within his administration, the secret shadow government there within the Biden administration. And I can tell you right now, there are investigations going on into all of this, trying to find out who is approving all of this. Because there were people who were running the government that were not elected to be president of the United States. And if they are not held accountable, then I at this point right now, I will lay that at the feet of the Trump administration. And when I say held accountable, I mean at the very least it needs to be publicly revealed who they are, what they did, and who knows if it was Biden and they somehow they found him to be cognizant at certain moments during the day in which they got the stuff approved, then so be it. But I don't believe it. I don't think the American people believe it. And so far, the facts are not bearing that out. Either that or this dude. I mean, well, we already knew he was a liar. We already knew that he was guilty of plagiarism. We already knew that he was guilty of stealing other people's lines and stealing credit for things and claiming that he did things that he never really did. We already knew all that. Now it's just being revealed that he just did more of the same while he was president of the United States. And this was the guy that they put up to run. And by the way, the reason why they selected Kamala Harris was because she was one of the few vice presidents dumber than him. And she doesn't have age to blame. Too bad. So sad. Bye-bye. Anyway, moving right along. More winning. Now, I will say this. So Trump has announced, a 90-day pause on tariffs for most countries. And I think this was something that a lot of people were hoping that he would do. And I just wanted to say, I personally happen to think that this was an excellent move. This story being reported by the New York Post. Trump announces 90-day tariff pause for most countries, raises China rate to 125% as he blasts yippee critics for boasts stock rebound. Gotta be a record. Well, I don't know if a $3,000 day is a record. I do not know if it is a record. Let me see. Well, let's see if do we have some sound here on this one? No, don't have any sound. Okay, anyway, let me read this. It says President Trump announced Wednesday that his reciprocal tariff scheme was being paused for 90 days in response to overtures by dozens of countries, but duties on Chinese imports would be heightened to 125% due to the lack of respect from Beijing. Trump, 78, told reporters that the White House that yippee critics and a queasy bond market were factors in his abrupt reversal. After uttering into a hot mic that massive uptick in the stock market value has got to be a record, as the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed up more than 7%. It's up almost seven percentage points, 2,500 points. Nobody has ever heard of it. It's got to be a record. Trump told Senator John Barrasso, Republican from Wyoming, on the White House South Lawn with NASCAR Cup Series champion Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. Anyway, the point here being, folks, is that he's put a pause on it. And I'm glad that he put a pause on it because, quite frankly, I'm glad he put a pause on it, but I'm also glad that he still decided that he is going to go after the main folks who, quite frankly, we need to be going after tariffs. And once again, you heard me just mention a little bit earlier, there's an issue. One of the issues here is that China really hasn't paid a price for anything that they did relating to COVID. But even that aside, when you start to think about all of the things that are going on, right? When you start to think about tariffs and trade and how long it has been that we have been dealing with them and the things they do and how they treat us when it comes to trade, I think it's important that people understand this stuff, right? That they understand the role that China has played. And what's interesting is there was a time when Democrats even understood it, as kind of exemplified by this little piece put together here. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I wanted you to see this. This is from Jesse Waters, and I think he makes some very, very good points in this particular piece.
Remember that giant sucking sound?
We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
They called Ross Perot crazy, but after 30 years, they call him right. Bubba was wrong. He signed NAFTA, and the giant sucking sound came from the South. And then he signed the China deal, and the giant sucking sound came from the East. There were a lot of sucking sounds in the 90s, and Chuck was fed up.
We are fed up, Mr. President. The Chinese should play by the rules once and for all. But how can we stand by as millions of American workers lose their jobs, as thousands of American companies can't compete fairly? No one seeks political advantage. What we seek, rather, is fairness. Fairness in trade.
The party that represented workers, the Democrats, immediately recognized the giant sucking sound was bad for workers, but good for donors. Wall Street got rich off the giant sucking sound, and so did Pelosi, Hillary, Kerry, Gore, all of them. So they talked about it to win votes, but didn't do anything about it, and turned China into a monster, their monster.
I worked at a factory, went to factory in 1989. We made radial passenger tires for cars. I worked there with my dad, 8 of my uncles, and 12 of my cousins. I was a union steward there. That plant now sits in China because you can import small radial passenger tires pretty cheap because of our failed trade policy in this Democrats' opinion.
Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, St. Louis, Milwaukee, I could go on and on. They traded jobs and honor for cheap phones and TV screens. Trump's declaring an end to the giant sucking sound and decided to slay the monster.
Countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. When America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight.
So when the clock strikes midnight tonight, the battle begins. China will be hit with triple-digit tariffs. The export menace should have never retaliated. Trump believes he has.
So that was a report that he did yesterday. But you see the point that he's making is, if there is anyone and for any reason that we need to be instituting tariffs, it is against China. I happen to be a big believer, and I've been listening a lot to Ben Shapiro lately, who has been listening a lot to other financial experts. I think that a lot of the rhetoric coming out of the White House saying that tariffs are going to make us rich and we're going to be able to make a whole lot of money by charging other people tariffs, I think that's a bad idea because I've never seen that happen. I had someone say, well, why is it a bunch of other countries, like 70 other countries or 170 other countries, I forget what number it was, have tariffs against us? And I said, well, none of those countries have anywhere near the economy that we do. So you see how smart having tariffs, you see how it's worked out for them. Tariffs is what you do when you want to protect your industries internally. And all we're saying is not every one of our industries needs that sort of protection because in many cases they are robust anyway. But if you're talking specific targeted tariffs in order to protect various industries, in particular industries that need to be viable in the event that we wind up going to war, so that we can have those things manufactured at home, I don't know, like chips, like computer chips, things like that. I think tariffs in cases like that or trade barriers make sense. I think that if you're trying to punish someone for violating our laws or in particular intellectual property laws, like China does every day, I think that once again, tariffs can be helpful. If you're looking to level a trade balance, well, you're only really going to have an equitable or an equal trade balance with countries who have economies somewhere around the size of your own. And for us, there's us and then there's China. I mean, I don't know who comes after them. I don't know anyone who's near them, maybe India. But there's not a lot of other countries that are nearly as close where we're going to have, if you add up all of the EU may count. But nobody anywhere near who fits all of the descriptions of people who we need to be instituting tariffs against fit that description better than China. And if you're going to get into a trade war with China, then one of the things you need to be doing is you need to have allies. You need to be looking at all of those countries that are around China, countries with whom, we don't really do a lot of trade. They're not necessarily heavily dependent on us. We need them. We need them to choose to do business with us rather than China. So instead of putting tariffs on them, we need to be encouraging them to send their business our way. That's what we need to be doing. Instead of, if we put huge tariffs on them, that actually pushes them towards doing business with China. We don't want that either. We definitely don't want that. So I say that to say that this move right here today signals exactly where it is that President Trump should be, which is holding China's feet to the fire, and letting other countries know that we appreciate their willingness to come to the table and help have freer trade throughout the world, in particular freer trade with the United States. All of those countries who are doing that, they're not doing it because they love America, let's be honest. They are, quote unquote, their country first. But because they are their country first, and China is China first, there's nothing wrong. Absolutely, positively nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with us being America first. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, Alberto is asking me if we have candidates on here. You know, mostly what we do on here, Alberto, is we talk about the news, whatever news is coming up. But we are going to be we have been talking about doing some like side interviews with various different people who run various organizations, as well as maybe even some political candidates, just because there has been a demand for that. We do have folks who've asked us about it. So, I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little early here, but yeah, we'll probably be doing a little bit more of that. Along with doing the regular news reports. Because, you know, like I said, people love hearing the news from the everyday guy perspective. Moving right along, an important piece of Second Amendment news has to do with the Department of Justice and the creation of a Second Amendment task force there within the Department of Justice. This being reported by the folks over at Bearing Arms. In fact, our good friend, Mr. Cam Edwards, says here, Bondi announces Second Amendment task force at DOJ. Attorney General Pam Bondi is taking another step towards using the power of the Justice Department to safeguard our Second Amendment rights. In a memo released to DOJ staff on Tuesday, Bondi announced the creation of a Second Amendment task force, though details on the scope of its responsibilities and its makeup are still a bit fuzzy at the moment. Quote, for too long, the Second Amendment, which establishes a fundamental individual right of Americans to keep and bear arms, has been treated as a second-class right. No more, Attorney General Bondi wrote to DOJ staff. It is the policy of this Department of Justice to use its full might to protect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. It seems to be the only part of the memo cited by those who haven't seen it, so it doesn't appear that Bondi's announcement came with any particulars about when the 2A task force will begin, its works, what its first target will be. Now, hold on. He said the DOJ Civil Rights Division has already launched an investigation into policies and practices of the Los Angeles Sheriff Department when it comes to issuing concealed carry permits, and presumably the task force won't duplicate those efforts. But there are plenty of other places for the DOJ to start digging. Let me say this, and I have said this for years, and I said this as soon as the president got elected. Yes, you need this exact sort of task force. It does need to take place inside of civil rights, because what are civil rights if not the rights due to all of us as citizens? They need to be tasked with going after municipalities, after states, after counties, after cities, after police departments and sheriff departments and school districts that violate the Second Amendment right of the people. Period. If you have a state that is violating the Second Amendment rights, you need to go after them. If you have some place that's violating any other right because of the Second Amendment, you need to go after them. Shall not be infringed is pretty simple. It ain't really vague. It really isn't. And they need to be made to understand that when you deliberately go out of your way to go after the fundamental rights of law-abiding citizens, you need to pay the price. Oh, Lord, please. Look, if any of y'all are out there, you know, if any of you out there paying attention, do me a favor. Do this guy a favor. Go ahead and message the Department of Justice, message Bondi, say, look, Craig's been talking about this for years. You need to get him involved. Trust me. I live here in the state of California, right? Sacramento, California, the capital of the Golden State, right? The belly of the beast. If you want someone who knows and understands all of the policies that the left has either implemented, is trying to implement, will propose, or will think up, trust me, I know them all because we've dealt with them all right here in California. There's a reason why at the beginning of the program I say behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And that's because, well, freedom generally tends to stop at the California border. So anyway, all that having been said, it's nice to see that this is happening. I am hoping that they will go after these folks quickly and with vigor, with the same quickness and vigor they are going after everything else. And I could not be more excited. I couldn't be more excited to hear about what's going on. Because, folks, and this is in no small part the reason why, we talked yesterday about this study that was out that talked about the assassination mentality or the assassination culture that the left is given into. Well, Breitbart actually shined a little bit more light on that particular study. And it's, quite frankly, it's even more disturbing than I thought. Once again, they're noting that 55% of leftists believe it's justifiable to assassinate Trump, and thanks to apps like Blue Sky. Let me come down here. By the way, Blue Sky is the alternative to Twitter. So now that Musk has Twitter, they want to run away to a safe space. Anyway, this is the part that I wanted to share with you. The culture can be found primarily in Democrat safe spaces like the ex-alternative Blue Sky. The most chilling information found in the NCRI poll of 1,200 adults, a disturbing 48.6% of those who self-identify as left of center said the murder of Elon Musk is justifiable. That number increased to 55.2% for President Trump. When asked if destroying Tesla dealerships is partially acceptable, 57.6% of leftists said yes. Blue Sky was modeled as a safe alternative to Twitter for the left, but what it's become is an extremist platform, Finkelstein said. He clarified, "We are not anti-free speech organization, but we know what a threat is. And what's happening online on platforms like Blue Sky represents a significant threat to the American democratic values." And what they're doing is over there at Blue Sky, it's okay to threaten violence. It's okay to say that, well, we're gonna kill people, or it's okay if someone gets killed. They're not gonna say we're gonna kill people. They're saying it's okay if he gets assassinated, it's all right. It must be justice. That's their attitude. It is their own little echo chamber. And once again, you see, the only thing the left really has to point to relating to any violence was January 6th. That is literally it. And even that was overall the number of people who are involved and conservative within this country, for the number of people who were even there that day, the number of people who were engaged in violence at the U.S. Capitol was a small fraction of the number of people. And even with that, you have most conservatives, in fact, almost all the ones that I know, saying if you were engaged in violence, you deserve, one, it is not justified. Number two, you need to go to jail. That's almost all of us. That's all they. But on the left, they're saying, well, it's okay. Violence is okay. Attacking someone is okay. Murdering Elon Musk is okay. Assassinating the president is okay. See, they're not interested in civil discussion. They're not interested in debate. They're not interested in hearing all sides. They're not interested in a democratic process. They want to them, democracy is them doing what they want. It's them doing things like Biden did, like all the secrets that he's kept, like giving his freebies away to China so that they can implement these solar panel programs, or lying about the origins of COVID. It's about lying on Donald Trump and calling him a Nazi and calling all Republicans or anyone who would dare support him a Nazi or a racist. That's all they're interested in, is those things, is lying to make us look bad. They want control. And they want control because they want everything to be torn down. And well, let me clarify, not all Democrats want everything to be torn down. Some of them actually want their racked out left-wing policies to be implemented because they think it actually is or will be better for the United States. I happen to believe that they are wrong. But there's also a group out there that know that they want those policies implemented because they know that they are bad for America. They know that they will rip America apart, and they want to see America burn. Because once again, as most of these Marxists and communists, or whatever you want, however you wish to refer to them, anarchists, they believe that out of the ashes will rise a new thing that will be better than anything that came before. And once again, ignoring the fact that as many times as this has been tried, as many times that people have proposed this stuff, tried to push this stuff, it's never happened. But they think they're smart enough to make it happen. I don't think so. Anyway, folks, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today on discount. All right, our parting shots today are going to be brought to you from the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. The first one, now you can't trust this one. Trump bangs gong, signaling another increase in China tariffs. Yeah, every single time they decide they're going to increase their tariffs, we're going to do the same. And just so you know, they already had really high tariffs on us, and them increasing them is, well, not going to make a big, huge difference because it's not just the tariffs, it's also the trade barriers. But here's the other thing. They are way more dependent on us buying their stuff than we are on them buying our stuff. Now, Hollywood may have a problem, but, you know, I don't care about Hollywood because they're too busy trying to make woke movies to appease the folks out there in China anyway. But all that having been said, there you go. Funny stuff. Now, as I told you, though, today the stock market closed up 3,000 points. And, well, let's just say this. Also from the Babylon Bee, liberals devastated as stock market recovers. I need y'all to think about this. They are rooting for America to fail. That's who the left is. They are rooting for America to fail. Now, there are those who are maybe they're not rooting for America to fail, but they're definitely going to spin this in a way that is not going to give the appropriate credit to the president, or not allow the president to claim credit because, well, as CNN reports, through the Babylon Bee, fake news you can trust, analysts clarify that Trump is only responsible for the stock market when it goes down. See, notice they didn't say president. They just said Trump because, once again, they really don't want to give Trump credit for getting anything right. And that's kind of how it goes. Okay. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net, rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase today. The California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you can look for all things tactical except the gun at uscombatgear.com. And with that, we are going to be done today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Throat Punch Thursday, one of my favorite days. Anyway, y'all have fun, stay safe, take care, and we will see you tomorrow. God bless.